Our lives are dominated by portable technology products. From things like smartwatches always on our wrist and tracking our fitness, to the headphones that we listen to our music on. From laptops to phones and tablets to games consoles, so much of our daily lives have tech as part of them. One thing all of these devices have in common is their need for power. And with some devices, that power need can nullify their portability claims. So how do you overcome a challenge of such proportions? With a power bank, of course. These two battery banks are from a company called INIU. They're a Chinese-based company with a good history of offering quality products at an affordable price. This dark red one is the P51 E2, a 20,000 mAh battery cell with power delivery of up to 22.5 watts. And it includes a torch, something I've appreciated on a power bank since this one, my first, from way back in 2013. It has 3 outputs consisting of 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A, all delivering that 22.5 watts charging. This bright orange one is the flagship monster of the lineup. It is the P63 E1. It packs a mighty 25,000 mAh cell and power delivery of up to 100 watts, which is enough to power even a thirsty handheld gaming PC. There's a similar port set up to the P51 with 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port. The big difference here is that each port delivers a different level of charging, from 18 watts through 45 watts and on to 100 watts. As you can see from the sales page, which is also linked in the description below and if used to purchase the device will help to support the channel, on paper, both battery banks look great. But what is their real-world performance like? The obvious first use case for testing was the everyday tech that I carry. So first up, my phone, a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra from 2022, got to try the big boy flagship power bank. Immediately, I was impressed. I usually use Samsung's own power brick to fast charge my device. It'll take the phone from 0% to full in a little over an hour via very fast charging, as shown here on the always-on display. The P63, however, automatically triggered the full Fast Charging 2.0 from its 45-watt delivery port. Even with this power brick, Anker's 45-watt mains charger, that 2.0 fast charging does not trigger. This means the fastest way to charge my S22 Ultra now, even with 45-watt charging bricks in the house, is via this power bank. It'll fully charge the phone in under 1 hour. It varies from around 45 minutes to 56-ish, depending on charging conditions, ambient temperatures, etc, etc. But it is always less than an hour, which, combined over the life of a phone, saves a user a lot of time. 6% of this battery bank puts 30% of charge into the phone, and that takes around 15 minutes. So even the splash and dash option is better with the P63. This power delivery also means that if you game on a phone, whether native or via the cloud, your game time is massively elongated with the P63 thanks to 6 times the battery life of the phone on its own. No matter what you play, if you're plugged into this power bank, the battery never moves. It feels impossible to drain, and I've pushed this power bank with my phone hard. Filming aspects of this video, even editing and encoding them on my phone plugged into the P63. Gaming, watching content, remotely accessing consoles and PCs. Essentially, all of the hardest and most battery-draining activities that you can perform with a phone, I have done trying to rinse this battery pack. And I've not managed to. Given that my everyday carry consists of a touch more than just a phone though, this bodes well for multi-device usage. For example, I wear a smartwatch. Now I could carry my magnetic puck with me to charge via one of the P63's USB-C ports. But when my phone can reverse power share, I don't need to do that. I can instead place my watch on the back of my phone after enabling the setting and charge my watch up from the phone itself. Of course, this usually uses my phone's battery up, but add the P63 into the mix, and I'm able to charge both of them at full speed, simultaneously, off one cable. When I then throw my tablet in as well, it happily charged all 3 devices up to full from their varying levels of discharge without breaking sweat. When charging all 3 from empty, it only used just over half of its own battery capacity. The P63 is a very impressive battery bank. But I tend to focus on gaming here on the channel, so what happens when you really push it? This is the ASUS ROG Ally, a power-hungry handheld gaming PC with a 40 watt-hour battery inside. When gaming, depending on the title, it can have as little as 30 minutes battery life, which Indiana Jones and the Great Circle has produced on more than one occasion. It kind of nullifies the Ally's portability, so I thought the P63 could maybe extend this battery life and extend the device's usability. I first plugged it in during one of those indie sessions when the Ally was on about 40% battery life. I then gamed for a further 2 hours, 4 times the length of what the Ally does on its own, playing the game and recording my footage until the battery bank was spent. At which point, I still had the whole of the Ally's own battery life to go through, which was roughly another 30-ish minutes. Not only had the bank elongated my gaming session exponentially, it had done so while also fully charging my handheld to be able to game far past the battery bank running out. That's an incredible improvement, especially running the device with its CPU and GPU fully overclocked. Dropping the Ally onto any of its other power delivery modes will improve this even further. With the P63 having a capacity of over double the Ally's internal battery, coming in at 91.25 watt-hours, it should be unsurprising that the battery life is extended this far. But the Ally has the same battery size as my Tab S9 Ultra, which edits and renders all of my YouTube content at 4K 60 frames per second. And that thing I'll charge maybe twice a week, which should give you an idea of the Ally's thirst for electricity. There are challenges with the portability in this particular setup. You can't exactly carry a 392-gram battery bank around via the USB-C port on the Ally, and you have to use the 100-watt power delivery port for it to work at all. But with a longer cable and a handy pocket, the carrying is easy. Or if we're talking actual real-world use cases on, say, a flight or similar, you just rest the battery bank on the seatback tray. And the little guy, at only 5,000 mAh less, the P51 is just as impressive. Now, of course, your use cases are going to be different with only 22.5 watts of power delivery. This one isn't going to be powering the ROG Ally as an example. But used in the correct scenario, the P51 is just as good as the flagship P63. It'll charge my phone 4 times from 0 to full, and take around 90 minutes to achieve that as one example. My tablet it'll charge fully twice. The Switch gets a monstrous boost to battery life when playing plugged into the P51. The Switch itself has a 4,310 mAh battery. Plugging it into the P51 gives it nearly 5 times that capacity. Meaning, with the Switch's median average 6-hour battery life, adding the P51 into the mix can take you from the UK to Australia, playing the entire way without having to plug either the Switch or battery bank into a mains outlet. That is hugely impressive. And then you can easily find anything on that flight with the built-in torch that is oddly and sadly missing from the flagship counterpart. This P51 though, the little one of the 2 that I got sent for review by INIU, is actually the one that fully sold me on these battery banks. And it was thanks to scenes like these over the beginning of 2025 in the UK that these thoughts were solidified. We hit temperatures of -12 and -15 degrees Celsius at the beginning of 2025, which even our houses, that are built to retain heat in colder conditions, struggled to warm up from. With energy bills rising again this winter to 2022 levels of expense, many in this country were choosing to either heat their home or eat a hot meal. They couldn't do both. Now I could, to a degree, but there was always a cold edge to the air that, through the course of a day, chilled you to the core. But this battery bank, paired with a heated jacket or vest like this one, really saved me, and likely would a lot of other people in this country in cold conditions. Unlike previous battery banks that I've used with this jacket, the P51 didn't run out through the course of the day. even if I crank the heating up to its maximum red setting. Often, I could get 2 days of personal heating out of this jacket with the P51 plugged in the pocket. This combination is around £90 total. With it offering 2 days of personal heating between charges, at low usage prices due to the size of the battery in the battery bank, for that cost, it will save lives. This sort of use case is important, and may not be what INIU thought about when making the battery banks. But any portable powered item will benefit from such large capacities, portability, and power delivery. That's not to say that my positivity is overwhelming though. There is a major drawback to the battery banks, and it is quite impactful. That drawback is charging them. These are 20,000 and 25,000 mAh cells respectively, and neither of them come with a charging brick in the box. I reached out to INIU to ask why this is the case, and they responded saying that it is because, and I'm paraphrasing slightly here, everyone already has some form of charging brick at home. Adding a mains charger to the P51 or P63 would increase the retail price to the customer for an additional accessory that they do not need. On face value, this makes sense and seems like a legitimate customer-focused concern. However, the mains charging bricks that most people have are like this one here. 20 watt or less chargers from circa 2018 to 2020, which was the last time flagship phones included chargers in the box. And owning this power brick is the reason that INIU said they don't include a charger. So I charged both battery banks off of this mains brick, from empty, and they took 4.5 and over 6 hours respectively to charge to full. That's not a quick, get back up and running charging cycle. In fact, in the P63's case, it's pushing half of most people's waking time. Now, you could charge overnight, but these aren't intelligent devices like a phone, PC, or tablet. They will charge at a steady rate through the night, and then keep delivering that level of charge once they hit 100%. This heats the battery bank up for prolonged periods, and outside of degrading the longevity of said bank, also poses a fire risk. So realistically, you want fairly swift charging for these power banks whilst you're awake, to be able to keep an eye on them. For the P51, there isn't a huge amount more that you can do to improve the situation. It charges at the same rate that it supplies power, 22.5 watts. And unfortunately, there are no chargers on the planet that deliver that exact amount. Most folk will have older Apple or Samsung chargers that top out at 20 and 21 watts at the absolute maximum, meaning they're looking at a 4.5 hour charge time regardless. And to be fair, charging at the 22.5 watts only removes 15 to 20 minutes of total charging time. The P63, however, the big boy flagship, can charge at 65 watts. Most people though, with the setup that INIU says is totally appropriate for such a device, as already stated, have charges of only 1/3 of that charging capacity. It took me over 6 hours to charge this from empty to full on this Samsung 21 watt charger. If people are still on the old Apple 5 watt chargers, because Apple hasn't shipped inclusive fast charging bricks ever, the P63 won't even fully charge in 24 hours. INIU's actual response off the back of me asking why such a vital component wasn't included, atop the aforementioned everyone has a charging brick, was, however, if needed, we do offer a 100 watt charger in our store, which can recharge the power bank at full speed. That 100 watt charger in the store is an additional £45 when not on January sales. It has also been sold out for the entirety of my month's testing, and then only comes in the US or mainland EU versions. So even if you were to buy it, UK, African, Australian, Japanese, South Korean, Indian, Malaysian, basically any other plug in the world, also then needs to buy a travel adapter to use that plug at home. So just like Apple, Samsung and Google, with this decision, INIU have opted to nickel and dime their customers even further on an already premium priced device. If I was spending the £76 on this power bank, I don't then want to have to spend another £45 for a charger and £20 for an appropriate travel adapter just to charge the power bank up in an actually usable amount of time at home. For around the £140 that setup would cost, you can buy a competing battery bank that offers the same power delivery and an appropriate charger included with money left over. This major drawback makes recommending these battery banks quite difficult because, in use, they work flawlessly. They deliver exactly what they say they will when offering power, are a wonderful form factor for an everyday carry, are not too heavy, much more aesthetically pleasing than many others on the market, and a reasonable price for what they offer. But getting them back to a point of usability once spent is painful, and made more so by not including a charger. For some, this won't be an issue, especially with the P51 and its ability to charge at maximum speed off of existing phone chargers. For the P63 though, anyone with a device like an ASUS ROG Ally, a Lenovo Legion Go, a USB-C powered gaming laptop, those users are going to have the means to charge the P63 up at full speed and therefore get a lot of use out of it. But just over 1 month ago, I didn't have the ROG Ally. I had a phone and a tablet, and I charged them using this Samsung charger that was also used throughout this video, and sometimes this temperamental Anker one that can now and then charge faster. But the P63 is aimed at mobile power users like me, and rather than freeing me up to be more creative as a mobile-centric user and creator, without the Ally, it would instead tether me further to a single location. Now, I will continue to use both power banks, and the P51 is a much easier recommendation given its charging capacity. I'll personally get a lot of use out of the P63 because I have the ROG Ally. The P63 massively extends its battery life, portability, and I can then charge the power bank at full speed with the Ally's 65-watt charger once it's empty. And of course, the P63 can be used for any other power requirement as well. But if you don't already have a 65-watt charger at home, there are more cost-effective options for you to buy than the INIU P63. This video was produced after 1 month's testing of the INIU P51 and P63 power bank review units supplied by INIU. INIU does not get any copy approval or early previews of this review and its content. If they do see it, they will see it for the first time right alongside you. I would like to thank you all so much for tuning in, and a special thanks to all channel members for their additional support. I hope you guys enjoy your early access to all long-form content. If you've liked this video, I think these ones will also be of interest to you. In the meantime, my name is Doragon. You can find me on Threads and other socials at Doragon86 or in the Discord in the description below. And until next time, folks, have yourselves a fantastic day and take care.